So, hey everyone. This whole essence of this channel since I've started this thing has been all about having real heartful conversations with you. Discussions that go beyond just the surface level. And today I wanted to kind of bring you more into the fold about what we're doing and taking that one step further by bringing you into the research journey. And I'm in the middle of it, right? Somehow kind of accidentally found myself in the middle of this sociological research. It's a very interesting process, and I want to talk with you a little bit about that. So what I'm doing here is I'm studying the social and political behaviors of the American South and how, what people believe, how they relate to power, to culture, to community, and to societal change. I think this is a very important conversation to be having. And luckily, as I embark on this thesis and this research into this modern society, you and I are going to be able to kind of walk through this together. In this region, why I chose the South, right? So the South is a region that is often discussed in national conversations. It has a very complex history, but it's rarely understood from the ground up, okay? From the micro communities up. I think we're starting to see more conversations coming from Appalachia, the Delta, places like that. But still, we're not getting a complete view of this from a sociological standpoint. And we're living through a tough time. And this time, I don't need to tell you this, there's extensive political polarization out there. There's culture clashes and very deep questions about things like identity and belonging and all of this, which I have my own opinions about. But the South is a place where those questions show up very powerfully in communities. And sometimes I think they show up very painfully. And as students of sociology, as people who study this, we often don't get off enough into the weeds because people aren't really focusing too much on the rural communities. And if they are, they're not there to study it very long. They're just kind of in and out, few weeks, few months, and they think they have a bigger picture. Or maybe they send out a survey or something. And that doesn't really go into the real question. And I think that research, why we need this research, is that it doesn't just look, the type of research that I'm doing here for my thesis is not just looking at polls and trends, but it's a kind of research that actually listens and has conversations with people and tries to understand them where they're at. And I think that I need to be very clear with you in this matter of research that the goal here is not to judge, it's not to stereotype, but instead it's to explore what's going on in society, to document. That's what journalists do, that's what ethnographers do. And it helps us better understand the lived experiences of people in the American South and how those experiences that they live shape their political and their social views. And this is a very important conversation that I think we all need to be having. And I think in this whole research, I want to ask this question: how do things like history and religion and race and economics and memory, how does all of this shape the political life here in the Deep South and in the South over a long period of time? We're talking a couple of years or so. So now I think it's going to be very important to discuss with you the methodology that I'm using here, the way that we're going to carry out this research. And now that we've got some strong support for this research and some backing for this research, I think it's really important to explain the methodology. And we're going to be looking using ethnography as part of this. And to do this, as I dive into this ethnography here, And that means that I'm not just reading stats or news reports or sending out surveys, things like that. This whole bit of research is going to be going out and embedding in these communities, not just listening to them, not just talking to them, but observing how their life is lived. All people across the entire spectrum. And I think we're going to present some real conversations out of this thing and have some real discussions about this. There's no doubt about it. It's slow research. It's very slow research. It's very deep research because this is human research. But it's going to be able to tell us a lot because for far too long, the rural communities have been left out of the conversation, especially communities in the rural South, because still people in the North are trying to get their kicks in on these people, right? And, they still feel like they need to blow some sort of punishment. Well, that tide is finally turning a little bit, I think. That's what the data tells us anyway, is that the tide is turning. But then how does that affect voting and political decisions, not just as far as president, but to the county commissioner, or to the sheriff, or to the local district attorney? How do these shifts affect that in the next 2 to 5 election cycles? So a lot of people are asking me why I'm sharing this stuff on YouTube. And the answer is transparency. I want this research to be very transparent. And that's why I'm sharing updates on this research here. I'm also doing it because I believe research should be a conversation between many, many different people, not just a paper at the end of the research, okay? I don't think that really works. I want to hear the thoughts as you and I go through this together. I want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, your questions, and all of this. So if you live in the South, or maybe you've studied it, maybe you're a fellow academic or something, and you have questions about it, feel free to drop them in the comments, because I want to have a conversation. This is our conversation. It's not just a paper at the end of the day, right? And really, if you want to go deeper into this, I've created a Substack newsletter where I'm going to share some of the field notes, reflections, longer updates. The link is below in the description. I would really appreciate if you would sign up for that. It really helps fund the work, that we're doing here, and going a little bit off into the deep end. YouTube itself doesn't pay all that much money. So obviously when you're doing this kind of research, you need to try to find financing for it any way you can, and this is a good way to do it. So I would really appreciate your help if you would subscribe to the newsletter and follow along there as well. So in closing, this journey started off with a question, and where it ends, like with anything in the scientific process, we don't know yet. We have no clue. But I hope that along the way, you and I are going to learn something about this region of the world, our country as a whole, in each other, and the things that make us tick. So I want to thank you for being here. Let's keep the conversation going, and let's see where it goes. I'm really excited to have you along. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And the link to the newsletter is in the description.